Island life. The phrase conjures up images of empty white sands and waving palms. These crowded beaches don't quite seem to fit the bill. Yet this too is an island, the largest in Europe, Great Britain. Not a desert island, it's true, but it still has stretches of sand, rolling breakers. Surfers flock to the coast of Cornwall as they do to the beaches of California. When summer arrives, these island dwellers rush down to the sand, and each stakes a claim to his own little territory, marking it out with deck chairs and windbreaks. It is perhaps a little too crowded, so let's head out to sea, raise our sails. Soon, we will be heading north. But we will not leave Cornwall without first passing by St. Michael's Mount, standing in the bay off Penzance. It has been a fortress, a church, a place of pilgrimage. Magnificent gardens grace its slopes. Perhaps this comes a little closer to our ideal of an island paradise. But it is not quite an island. At low tide, a causeway emerges, and it's possible to cross by foot from the mainland. Great Britain is an island surrounded by islands, dozens of them. At the furthest southwest point are the Scillies, over 40 kilometers from the mainland coast. Around 150 points of land pierce the surface of the water, lumps of granite gnawed by the ocean currents. It seems at first sight a grim place, harsh and forbidding. Yet the climate here is mild. Not surprising then that pleasure craft flock to its harbors. Only the 5 largest islands are occupied: Tresco, St. Agnes and St. Mary's, St. Martin's and Bryar. These islands cannot completely escape the ravages of tide and tempest, but they have a secret: a warm current. The Scilly Isles are in the same latitude as Newfoundland in Canada. Without the Gulf Stream, which bathes their coasts, the Scillies would be shrouded in ice for 3 months a year. Right at the end of the archipelago, facing the Atlantic, a final plot of England rises from the sea, Bishop Rock, and the lighthouse which bears its name. The tower is 49 meters high. Twice it has been destroyed and twice rebuilt. The lighthouse sends out 2 beams every 15 seconds. They can be seen 50 kilometers away. Evening falls over the Scillies. But now it's time to leave behind the peaceful inlets and face a harsher, wilder, more craggy coast. From the southernmost point of England, we now set our sights on the far north. Now 1,000 kilometers lie between us and the Scillies. This is Skye, off the northwest of Scotland, the largest island of the Inner Hebrides. an island crossed by mountains whose peaks reach nearly 1,000 meters. Being so inhospitable to man, the cliffs and mountains are all the more welcoming to golden and white-tailed eagles. But appearances can be deceptive. People, too, live on Skye, though they number less than 9,000. At the west of the island is the lighthouse of Naste Point. But it hasn't been home to lighthouse keepers and their families for a long time. Instead, it's open to all. The living quarters have been turned into holiday flats. The walls are a meter thick and have been standing for 100 years, so inside, visitors feel safe and protected. But they can still hear the wild world just beyond the door, waves crashing on the rocks and the piercing cries of eagles calling from afar. Turning their gaze westwards, across a stretch of sea called the Little Minch, they can dimly perceive other lands on the horizon, between Skye and the open sea. The Outer Hebrides. Strange pasture for cattle. The sand is composed of seashells, billions of shells pounded and smashed by the waves. Fine white sand and clear turquoise seas. The Outer Hebrides do look surprisingly like a tropical island paradise. Only the temperatures belie this impression. The sea averages only 13 degrees Celsius in summer. Lewis and Harris, Barra, Benbecula, Eriskay. Around 10 islands form the Outer Hebrides chain, some 60 kilometers from the west coast of Scotland. Each island has its own distinct character and cultural heritage. This is the 13th century castle of Kizimul, standing in Barra's Castle Bay. Fishermen splash in a few centimeters of cold water, gathering cockles and other shellfish. They don't even need to know how to swim. Barra is at the southernmost tip of the Outer Hebrides. Today the wind has stilled, which is rather rare, and so the clouds settle low over the cliffs. It's as if they were glad to find something to hang on to after drifting for so long over nothing but ocean. Hidden within the mist is the lighthouse of Barra Head. This is the last land for 3,000 kilometers. From here to the Canadian coast, no more rocks pierce the waves. What then can we discover to the east of Great Britain if we head out from the far coast of Scotland and cross the North Sea? Let us set our course now for Scandinavia. A long arm of land reaching out towards us. This is Zealand, the largest island of Denmark. Most of the country's population live on its 7,000 square kilometers. Hardly surprising that this land should have given birth to that great seafaring people, the Vikings. No one in Denmark lives more than 52 kilometers from the sea. Scandinavian summers may be short, but the summer days are long. The afternoon light is dazzlingly bright. The sea for now is like a mill pond. But the weather can change in an instant, and a sudden squally shower could mask the clear skies. A light breeze is blowing, ideal conditions for sailing, but a warning of changes ahead. Hoist the sails and head for home. The last rays of sunshine will see the boats back to harbor. Now a strong wind springs up, blowing from the west, sweeping over the whole of southern Scandinavia, across the scoured coastlines of Sweden. Storm warning for the island chain of Bohuslän, north of Gothenburg. For the moment, it's nothing the little yellow trawler can't handle. The storm merely heralds the arrival of autumn. In winter, everything here will be frozen, unbroken white. Since the 17th century, the people of this region have lived by fishing herring. Today, tourism is taking over as the main industry. Summer warmth attracts visitors to the little fishing villages. 150,000 islands dot the coast. This is Asdal. There are no cars on the island. The roads are too narrow for them. Even the rubbish cart had to be specially designed to fit the streets. You can only travel by boat when the sea isn't covered in ice. Like all the other islands of Sweden's west coast, Asdal lived a golden age, exporting herring throughout the whole of Europe and even far beyond. Then, the authorities encouraged people to come and settle here by offering them land. Now the little wooden houses are worth a fortune. Those who are lucky enough to live beside this horseshoe-shaped port probably don't have many regrets. Even the least promising of the islands are put to use. This is a test site for paint. Various samples are exposed to the elements in order to see how well the different colors will weather. In summer, yachts try to outwit the winds and currents, negotiating their way through the labyrinth of rocks. South of Asdal, and only 40 kilometers from Gothenburg, is one of the most beautiful parts of Sweden, the island of Marstrand. Two magnates of the Swedish car industry have houses here. It's not hard to understand why. Even on holiday, they continue to vie with each other to be the one with the most beautiful villa in the best location. One has chosen a large modern house with geometric forms, open to the outside world. The other prefers to shut himself away in a typical wooden house, built practically on top of the water. Ironically, in this island paradise, there is little place for cars. To make life easier for the island dwellers, dozens of ferries cross backwards and forwards between the islands of the Gothenburg coast every day. The inhabitants value their peace and quiet highly and don't want any bridges. Quality of life is just as important for the inhabitants of Stockholm. But the capital couldn't manage without bridges, and there are 40 of them in total, connecting the 14 islands which form part of the city. In summer, Stockholm has a relaxed holiday atmosphere. You could easily forget that it's a bustling European capital. Those lucky enough to work near the university, for example, can get down to the waterside in just a few minutes and make the most of the sun during their lunch hour. Overall, the archipelago off Stockholm numbers 24,000 islands. Huge ferries glide between the rocks. Sometimes they're fitted out as restaurants or equipped with swimming pools. And as for the roads, sooner or later, all roads turn into boats. Further out in the Baltic, the Rhapsody in green and blue plays on. It is a sea of islands. As we travel further north and the temperature drops, so do the numbers of inhabitants. But some brave souls endure. From scattered, low-lying patches of land to looming cliffs, tumbling waterfalls. We are in the heart of Norway's Fjordland. Immense ribbons of water fall from dizzying heights. Their power is breathtaking. These mountains of western Norway climb to a height of 1,500 meters. Its crinkled coastline measures 83,000 kilometers in all. The way to the Northern Isles is long, tortuous, fraught with danger. No danger greater than the Maelstrom. More than a current, the Maelstrom is a kind of torrential tide. As the tides rise and fall between the islands, millions of cubic meters of water are sucked up or pushed out. Midway between high and low tides, the current changes direction. Then the Maelstrom is at its most powerful. Huge whirlpools appear and draw the water down with terrifying force. The Maelstrom is a sign that the Norwegian Sea is not far off. We are heading for the far north of Norway, north of the Arctic Circle, 3,000 kilometers north of Oslo. Another world. Standing outside the town and the military base of Bodø is the Landago Lighthouse. It's a sign that we've reached the Lofoten Islands. A wall of mountains rising out of the waters, the Lofoten chain forms a final rocky rampart before the open sea. Water and rock, sea and island, in unending succession as far as the eye can see. In a few weeks, all will be cloaked in white, and then the polar night will descend, and the landscape will be plunged in darkness. There are many ports here. Fishing is vital to the social and economic life of these islands. Sole and sea bass, hake, herring and haddock spawn in great numbers in these clear waters, warmed by the Gulf Stream. Roofs are insulated with grass. The traditional fishermen's houses are of wood. The 24,000 inhabitants of the Lofoten live in harmony with their environment and carefully preserve it. The archipelago boasts a few farms, and Lofoten lamb is reputedly one of the best in Norway. But most of the industry here is linked to the fisheries, and notably the salmon farms, which take advantage of the plankton-rich waters. In the northeast of the archipelago is Henningsvær. Though it is the largest fishing port of the Lofoten Islands, it still has only around 500 inhabitants. A land of extremes, with fewer than 20 people per square kilometer. It's as if we were coming to the end of the world. And yet, there are always more lands beyond the horizon. Ever bigger, ever higher. This is the Vesterålen Archipelago. Since 1893, the ships of the Express Coastal Line have been traveling up and down the Norwegian coast, from Bergen in the south to the far north and the border with Russia. The journey takes 11 days and has 34 ports of call. Weaving between the islands, fjords and mountains, this is one of the most beautiful and spectacular sea voyages in the world. Not just a cruise, it's an experience which can change your whole outlook on life. We leave the Express Coastal and instead follow a trawler. Far from the route of the cruise ships, we suddenly come upon an island standing barely proud of the sea, and a factory still under construction. A gas terminal. We're close to Hammerfest, the northernmost town in Europe. This gigantic factory is being constructed on the island of Melkoja to exploit the undersea gas reserves. Thousands of men and a few women have come from all over Europe to live and work on this site, situated at 70 degrees latitude north. They work in all weathers and throughout the polar night, which lasts from November to January. So after the fishermen, it's now the petrol industry's turn to exploit the Barents Sea. It's considered to be one of the largest reserves of natural gas in the world. Now mountains rise once more, stark and forbidding. We're approaching the end, for this is Magaroya, the northernmost tip of Europe. In summer, Lapp reindeer herders bring their animals here to graze on the few hardy plants which survive the winter freeze. The island of Magaroya has very few inhabitants, but is visited by a large number of tourists. They gather on this promontory, pointing out towards the Arctic, the North Cape, the Cape of the Midnight Sun. Each year, 200,000 visitors squeeze onto this last tiny bit of European land. The continent and our journey north end here. Yet this globe, 300 meters above the sea, reminds us that all is not lost, that there are many, many worlds which remain for us to discover.